If y equals 3 cosine of x divided by 3, find the y dx when x equals 3 pi divided by 2. So the option you have here is 2, b is 1, c is -1, and d is -3. So let's start by writing down the problem statements. So we've been given that y equals 3 cosine of x divided by 3. Now we're told to find the y dx. Now not just the y dx, but the y dx at x equals 3 pi all over 2. So at x equals 3 pi divided by 2. So we want to find this. So again, like we've been doing in the past problems I've done so far, there are two things involved. So the first thing we do is we find the y dx. Now after finding the y dx, the next stage of solution is to find the function value at 3 pi all over 2. So the first thing we're going to do is let's first find the y dx, since it's the first stage of the solution process. So we have y equals 3 cosine of x all over 3. 3 cosine of x all over 3. Now, well, the function I have for my y is actually a composite function. It's going to be a little difficult for me to find the derivative of this trigonometric function. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a substitution here. I'm going to let u to be equal to x all over 3. So let's say, so let u to be equal to x all over 3. So if u equals x all over 3, so I can rewrite my y to be equal to 3 cosine of u. Now if y equals 3 cosine of u, I can now find the derivative of y with respect to u. That is the y du now becomes, so 3 is a constant, so we can leave 3 the way it is. Now but the derivative of cosine of u, so if you recall, the derivative of cosine of u is is negative sine of u. If you've not forgotten. So the derivative of cosine of u is negative sine of u. So this is just going to give you, so 3 times -1 is -3 sine of u. So this is my dy du. But this is not our aim. Our aim is to find the y dx. But what I have here is the y du. So how can I find the y dx? Well, the y dx is just simply, it can be obtained from here. How? So if you have the y du, so how am I going to obtain the y dx? So by simply multiplying this by du dx. So if you observe that there is du here, there is du here. So in a way you could think of it as crossing out, but it's not permissible. You don't have to think like that. But to help you remember, this is called chain rule. So to help you remember, you have the y dx equals the y du multiplied by du dx. What we have here is u equals x all over 3. So I have my dy du, but how do I get du dx? Now since u equals x all over 3, which is the same thing as 1 all over 3 times x, so to find du dx, that is just simply, so this is to the power 1, so this is just simply 1 all over 3. So my du dx is 1 over 3, my dy du is -3 sine u. So this is just simply going to be, so my dy du, which is -3 sine of u multiplied by du dx. So my du dx is 1 all over 3. And then you have 3 here. So this 3 here crosses this 3. So what we are left with is a negative sine of u. So we recall that u is x all over 3. So my dy dx is just going to be a negative sine of, so I need to make the substitution here. So this is u, and u is x all over 3. So I'm going to write x all over 3. So this is my dy dx. My dy dx is just, so let me not confuse things here. Let's just write them in just one color, x all over 3. So the y dx is negative sine x all over 3. But it doesn't stop there. The question says find y dx at x equals 3 pi all over 2. Now there is a little problem here. Now the x we are given here, that is the angle, is in radians. So this is in radians. So it's in radians. So my aim is I have to convert it back to degrees. Now how do I convert this to degrees? Now to convert this to degrees, you recall that 1 pi radian, that is 1 pi radian, is equivalent to 180 degrees. So therefore 3 pi all over 2 radians is just going to give you, so you cross multiply, you have 3 pi over 2 times this, which is going to give you 3 pi all over 2 multiplied by 180 degrees, then divided by what you have here, so divided by pi. So pi cancels pi, so you're going to be left with 2 here, 1, and 2 in 180 is 90, and 3 times 90 is going to give you 270 degrees. So in other words, x equals 3 pi over 2 is equivalent to 270 degrees. So to now find dy dx, so my dy dx now, so dy dx at x equals, now 3 pi over 2, we obtain that to be 270 degrees. So this is just going to be, so anywhere we see x, we replace it with 270 degrees. So this becomes negative sine, so let's push this up, negative sine of, so this is 270 divided by 3. So we close this up. Now 3 in 270 is going to give you 90 degrees. So what you have is going to be negative sine of 90 degrees. Now the sine of 90, like we know, is 1. So since the sine of 90 is 1, so this is just going to give you negative 1. So in other words, the dy dx at x equals 270 degrees equals negative 1. So that completes the problem. So let's check our solution. Yeah, so this is the solution here. So our solution equals negative 1.